US President Trump's sweeping tariffs in 2025 have made it harder for middle-class Americans to fulfill the American dream. Tariffs on steel, lumber, and copper are expected to drive up construction costs, inflating home prices and making down payments harder for first-time buyers.
I would say about 60% of Americans do not participate in any increase in economic growth. 80% of Americans have the same household income, adjusted for inflation, that it was in 1973. And there's been, the economy's grown by about 200%. So that's a very serious drag on the U.S. economy.
Import duties on auto parts and raw materials will raise vehicle prices, pushing buyers toward longer loans or used cars. US GDP growth has slowed to 1.8% annually, well below the 3% to 4% that Trump had promised. The tariffs in general are expected to push inflation up later in the year.
It'll mainly affect U.S. trade, and it will increase the price on an average basis when these are fully implemented, and that takes time. But they will increase the average price of imports purchased by Americans by probably around 15%. That's a pretty big increase, and that will show up in inflation later this year.
Real wages are below inflation, squeezing household budgets, and job creation has fallen short of expectations. Unemployment rate in July rose slightly to 4.2%, continuing a trend of stagnation since early 2024.
Unemployment is low at 4.2%, but if you include part-time workers that want full-time work and also people that are working jobs that don't meet their degree attainment, that number goes up, the U6 measure, to 8% unemployment, which is, quite high. But the real problem is 25% of Americans, whether they're working for full-time or not, make less than $25,000 a year.
Supporters argue the pain is temporary and necessary to reshore manufacturing and reduce trade deficits. But so far, manufacturing output has declined and the trade deficit has widened. So while the American dream isn't dead, it's definitely more expensive and for many more elusive. The Economic Brief, DD India.
Well, Professor Chaturvedi continues to grace us with his presence. Professor Chaturvedi, do you see the middle class in the US, especially Gen Z, struggling and losing hope of the American dream?
See, this is going to multiply as far as US-India trade is concerned. And let me bring some numbers to you. If you see the trade basket that is there, almost 12% of India's exports to US is of pharmaceutical products. Pharmaceutical products as at this point are out, but quite a few companies are importing chemicals, which are again 12%, and they are somewhere close to $9 billion, where they are doing value addition and then making them available as pharmaceuticals in the local market. All of that would be affected. We are already having some $15 billion export of almost 19% of electrical goods, which are also extremely cost effective. And what Fed has already warned is a huge escalation in domestic prices, inflation. And this they are expecting that would happen as soon as second week of September. And this is the second warning that has come from Fed. So what we are expecting is in terms of tariff spillovers, but also squeezed space in terms of how the new jobs would be created. The countries who are getting affected are also imposing. Brazil has imposed. And you see the major trade basket for US is Brazil. Now Brazil has also retaliated and has come up with tariffs. China retaliated.
Indeed, but Professor Chaturvedi, looking at it from the US point of view, I mean, is their economy going to turn around at all if these policies work in reshoring manufacturing, and how long will it take?
No, that's what I'm saying, that if retaliations are happening, US exports are also going to get affected. They are not going to be insulated. Okay. So what is going to happen to the exports of other countries to US at last would also happen to the exports from the US. And Absolutely. This would create a major export and import imbalance at the global level. So to think that exports are good and imports are bad is not correct in a world where we are ending up with Mark 72% of global trade is value chains. It is in semi-finished products, it's parts and components. So you find that the trade baskets have changed and have evolved.
Indeed. We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Professor Chaturvedi, for joining us, helping us to understand the impact of trade tariffs and how diversification also strengthens the global economy. Thanks for being with us, sir.